So, future-proofing infrastructure. It's a it's a very topical area of discussion, actually, and simply because I think everyone is aware, we live in a VUCA world, uncertain. Di ba? It's not just uncertain in the context of technology, Gen AI. Yeah, just a few years back, it wasn't there, and it's here with us. But not just technologically, but even political and geopolitical. So it's still uncertain, and even geological, with climate change and so on and so forth. So very topical, future proofing. Given that we live in a VUCA world, and the other thing as well is that I think top of mind of IT leaders, just like the gentleman here, would be reducing the technology debt, the technical debt. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you invest on infrastructure that won't result to a technical debt in the future. Okay. So very relevant, very topical, and I hope you'll find this useful. Okay. So let me look at my script though. I'm trying to ad lib, but it seems like I need to look at my script now. Okay. So before we start into the discussion of solutioning, because you'll be interested there how to future proof the IT infrastructure, I guess. The first thing we need to do is to contextualize this discussion. And let's contextualize this in, using the Philippine landscape. Yeah, we're in the Philippines anyway. So let's talk about the Philippines here. So the first question that I'm going to ask, which I'm going to address to Frank. Okay. So here's a question. Given the Philippines' unique geographical landscape and current state of IT infrastructure, what are the most significant challenges you've encountered in deploying and maintaining IT infrastructure in the Philippines, and how have you addressed them? Haba, no?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Session is based on my personal experience. So I've been with a few industry. So most recently, I'm with Asian Hospital, but just last year, I was managing all 20 plus hospitals of Metro Pacific, and it's the southernmost hospital is in Zamboanga. That's West Metro, and the northernmost is in Tarlac. That's yeah. But before that, I was also managing Starbucks. Okay, so we have a lot of stores of Starbucks all over the country, and before that, Jollibee. More stores all over the country. So, given the question, one of the challenges is actually the very uneven connectivity in the different parts of our country. So that makes us very difficult in deploying applications because in some areas it's fast, in some areas it's super slow. Right? So it's so hard. And and you know why, right? Because in Metro Manila, it's easier for the telco to lay out fiber connectivity. In the provinces, good luck. It might be because of terrain, might be because of political, geopolitical, etc., etc. So that's one, the very uneven network connectivity. The second one is this was discussed in the few sessions that I've attended here, right? Power, very unreliable power in certain parts of our country. Because as you know, we have different sources of power, right? Hydro, geothermal, wind, coal, wala ng nuclear, 'di ba? Wala pa, yeah. But because of that, very ano ba, unpredictable in terms of power, right? So because of that, in some areas we have to put gensets. In some areas where it's very reliable, no gensets. And right now, I think a lot of companies are considering solar, right? So that will really really help. The last one, the last challenge that I would like to share is on skill set. So in different regions, especially in far flung provinces, it's very hard to find IT skills. I think you know that for a fact. I remember we have a hospital in Bohol. Right? Unfortunately, there's like all of the IT skills in Bohol are working in Cebu. And so because of that, yeah, we have to really get skills from Cebu, bring them to Bohol. So that's very interesting. So way back in when I was working in IBM, it was very hard for us to also put up to support uh, systems when we deploy them to provinces, to the point that we have to develop our own provincial support. We have to partner and develop vendors in the different provinces just for us to deploy solutions in these provinces. So those are the what maybe three of the challenges that I would like to highlight. And in terms of how I address it, I think I can address it later in the succeeding questions, right? Thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you. So thanks, Frank, and that resonates with me because I used to work for Shell gasoline station, remote areas. Yeah, deploying solutions. Yeah, so very fragmented, very disparate. So that's the beauty of our archipelago. 7,000 plus. Tama ba? 7,000? Okay. Islands. I don't know my geography. Sorry for that.
Right.
Anyway, so I mean, having understood the challenges, though, um, and we're gonna get into the discussion of the role of the emerging technologies. Yeah, especially in tackling this issue on future proofing the IT infrastructure. So the question which I'll be asking Kaloy, who's a very good friend of mine. That's why I'm giving him the hardest questions, I guess, is that how can companies in the Philippines, again, Philippine context, how can companies in the Philippines leverage techs like cloud computing, edge computing, AI, and others, they're, yeah, to enhance their IT infrastructure resilience and scalability? Two big words when you talk about IT future proofing or IT infrastructure future proofing. So, um, yeah, how can AI be used to optimize IT infrastructure management and predict potential disruptions?
Thanks, Charlie. Full transparency, me and Charlie have known each other for decades, coming before from the same company. Um, Three things he said, Charlie mentioned. So, talk about cloud computing, we talk about IoT and AI. I'll drill down on the AI a bit, but on the cloud computing, resiliency wise, it allows you before a before in the old days, you don't have redundancy automatically. With cloud computing, it's easy for you to spin off your redundant servers, redundant infrastructure. On the IoT side, that allows you to be able to monitor devices that were not possible before, were done very manually. And going into the AI component, there's really a lot of exciting things. I was listening to the previous speaker, he was so sharing some of them. And not to look at any brand, but there are probably five main benefits of AI. It's very exciting right now. Honestly, if you're in this space and you want to try on AI, this is probably the best time to do it. One, because it's available. Second, everyone talks about it, but they don't understand it. So your management will say, I want to do AI, but they don't understand it. So in IT, you can always defend it, saying you can gain this thing. So there are five. One, you'll be able to do your proactive monitoring. So for those in IT, you understand mean time to repair, mean time before failure. Before it was computed manually, if ever we did compute. Now you can predict that. You know when a hardware item will be going out, you need to repair, to maintain proactively. What's the consequence of that? You avoid disruption. You're more resilient. Compounded with the second point, you can automate your alerts. In the old days, alerts happens reactively. Something went down, I'll react. Now you can actually automatically put thresholds that allow you to automatically be notified whatever medium possible to be able to do alerts. Third, you can do resource optimization. because with available data that you have, you can look at history, usage, tendency of customers, tendency of the environment, tendency of of your geography. You can actually do models to be able to optimize. If I know, for example, that a province or area is on holiday and you are actually very heavy on holidays, then you can actually adopt to have more cloud computing on those days. For those that you think are lean months, then you can die down a little bit. So that allows you to be able to do optimized resourcing. Number four, you can actually also make it easier for you to identify root causes of your incidents. Because with AI, with the knowledge, it can help you pinpoint, and there are already things that are available in the market for you to put on either an appliance or a software to identify if there's an issue, what's causing it. Last but not the least, it can also do in terms of your area security, because it can also automate a lot of your security features, not to install basically doing it, but to be able to actually alert you and or potentially provide you guidance on security. So 5 things of proactive, predictive analytics on mean time before failure, mean time to repair, automated alert, incident response, security, and even resource optimization. Just a few. So it's actually very, very exciting times because technology is there. And like before, a lot of them during our generation would do it either manually or not at all.
Yeah, well, that was very insightful when you mentioned about old days. I mean, it's like, wow,
5 years ago, Charlie.
5 years.
Always 5 years. When
I
I'm
know.
20, not.
You're my friend. So, yeah, we were office mates 5 years ago. But yeah, I mean, that's a dream of an IT leader, having proactive monitoring and response to reactive. It used to be that the users are the one telling us, oh, the system is down. And then you react. Now we know that the system is down. And we fix it before the users actually know that it's down. So that's proactive, yeah. Monitoring as well as being able to do it before it even happens. So I'll complicate the discussion a little bit. So we've been talking about the local context, yeah, Philippines, and I'm gonna bring in regional and global. I don't know to what extent my NILAD has gone regional or global, but um, local companies, some of them do have regional and global, operations. So my question to Ronald is, what are the key considerations for building IT infrastructure that can support both local and or global operations of a company?
Okay, hello, good afternoon to all of you. Before I answer Charlie, I think the people who are listening to us will listen because what they saw is experience. Probably by looking at the four of us, they're talking of what? 20, 30 years of experience in IT.
200.
200. Okay. So, as stated by Charlie, so what are the key considerations if we need to build IT infrastructure for global or regional and local to support the local? So I will go back probably to what was discussed by Frank. So we need to address the power requirements. So we need to ensure that there's a reliable enough supply of electricity here.
We love that.
Yeah.
Power generation.
Power generation, yeah.
Lot.
I remember the time when I was with EDC and you are trying to integrate all the IT of the Lopez Group.
Yeah, we
For-
came from
Met-
power generation. I'm still with power generation.
Okay, yeah. And then the other one is of course the communications requirement. Okay, you mentioned that also. It's a challenge, but at the same time, it's a requirement. We want to go global, we want to go regional. We need to ensure that we have a redundant and stable communication. And of course, the last one is, of course, the skills. You also mentioned that. It's a challenge, but again, that's the requirement. We need to ensure that we have enough qualified personnel to support the IT infrastructure. Otherwise, if you cannot support your IT, that's useless. So basically, that's what we need.
Yeah. Well, yeah, precisely. I mean, the local challenges, in fact, challenges expand beyond borders. Yeah, they're the same challenge. When you go regional, and it may be probably magnified. because the geographical spread is bigger, of course, but same issues, same banana, isn't it? It's not like when you become global, it'll be easier because you have access to global resources. No, it's the same. Well, I used to work for Shell in a global role, so fully understand the dilemma. Yeah. So, okay, from regional global, we're going to go back to Philippines again, local. Yeah. And future proofing, the word future. Yeah. So we're preparing ourselves for the future. So the question is, and this is going to be addressed to Frank. So crystal balling. Yeah. So what are the key trends and technologies that will shape the future of IT infrastructure in the Philippines?
Okay, so I'll highlight three. Okay, maybe going back. This is to address the challenges that I've enumerated earlier. So I think the first one is connectivity. Connectivity is like the foundation of everything nowadays, right? So, for example, what I'm doing in my sites that are in the provinces, implementing Starlink. So sorry, maybe Starlink is not a sponsor here, pero siguro,
Pay you
yeah, yeah,
advertise in the
or equivalent natin. So it's game changing because it works. So for you who haven't tried it,
Yeah.
it really works, guys. So what's good with this is if ever there are typhoons, flooding, right, which is very common in provinces when the province becomes isolated, like what happened in Leyte. If you have Starlink, you're good. You're covered, right? As long as you have power. So, but when you add solar, so I think you're good, right? So that's really very very helpful. So that's connectivity, and also outside of satellite, I think there's also a lot of improvements also that our telco had been doing. The last mile connectivity has been improving, so more and more it becomes more reliable. So the second one is cloud, as Kaloy mentioned. So cloud is also a game changer. So before, as Kaloy mentioned, if you don't have a budget to buy a server, sorry, right? You cannot do anything. But now you can, right? You just have to subscribe a bit, a little. You now have a cloud instance where you can test a lot of your application. This is also a game changer in entrepreneurs, right? Who wants to start a small business. So you don't need to buy big servers, have your own data center. You just have to have cloud, right? And you can start your business. The third one, which I want to highlight, is integration. Right. So the reason why I want to highlight that is because we see that there's a lot of technologies, right? Left, right. There's a lot of cloud providers, a lot of database providers, application providers, SaaS, PaaS, etc. Right. But the problem is, or the reality is it needs to connect and talk to each other, right? Right. So, and gone are the days where we can really, for example, standardize in one technology, right? For example, in Microsoft or in Oracle before, right? If you buy Microsoft, all, all Microsoft, go Oracle, all Oracle, so that you're sure that it will work, right? But nowadays, the reality is there are a lot of applications, good applications, but you have to make it talk to each other. And integration is the key. So I think that's one of the future requirements.
Okay, well, if there's Gardner predicts, that's Frank's predicts. Okay. So, well, I was hoping that Frank would say, just like in the back in the future, we'll have flying cars. Well, I think that's not yet in the next 5-year horizon. So Frank is a little bit practical. So cloud. So if you're in the, most of us who are in the cloud, we are in the cloud literally. I mean, cloud nine, as in we're happy campers. Yeah. So go to the cloud. And we're not endorsing anything here, but yeah, that's based on our experience. So anyway, so that's a crystal balling exercise done by Frank, and I'm gonna go to Ronald now, and the question is, so having heard that, the new tech coming on board in the next 3 or 5 years, and the pervasiveness of IoT, 5G, and even quantum computing, how can the Philippines as a whole prepare for the next for this new wave of well, actually they're not the wave, they're here, yeah, they're not even emerging, they're here, it's right in front of us. And so how do you prepare the Philippines for all this?
Hello, yeah, again. So for me, I mean, it's more on the people. So let's start with the leader or with the stakeholders. So if we have a good leader that will have to ensure that it will be supported, then we can have, I mean, let's say we have a new DICT secretary, and we know where he came from, and where he came from. I mean, he started from Union Bank to Globe, so they have lots of experience, and we know that with that kind of leadership, he can lead. And then from there, as I said, stakeholder. So probably we can talk about the private sector. So when we talk about the private sector, we need to have the commitment, the investment of the private sector in order to support it. On the side of the government, so the leadership, the guidance, and of course the policies. Okay, so you mentioned a while ago about the Starlink. So actually one of the thing that we might say good with when it comes to governments is they allowed us to use the all bandwidth. So we use the satellites, the Starlink. So in our case in Maynilad, we tried to, let's say, to monitor the flow of water from the mountain going to, let's say, to your household, but there are no communications on the mountain. So even the 5G that we mentioned, yeah, the cellular data, the cellular communications is not available. So what we need to is we need to use the satellite communication. We use Iridium, we use Inmarsat, and we use Starlink. And it's good, as you said. It works. So with that policies, we can see that it's here. So we have the leadership, the stakeholder, the government, and of course, I will go down again to the people or the personnel who will support the IT. We need to ensure that the skills are there. We need to ensure that the people are prepared to support the IT infrastructure. And it will now again goes to, again, I will go back to the government, to the education sector, that they need to ensure that they prepare the future uh, personnel who will support or guide the IT infrastructure. Okay? And then the last one is I will go back to the challenges. We need to ensure that power will be there, enough resources, and then we have to have either redundant IT telco in order to support that vision. So that's it.
Okay, well, thanks, Ronald. So we mentioned Starlink twice. Yeah, they should be sponsoring this event next year. But anyway, so yeah, indeed. I mean, Ronald talked about from the top down. It's an ecosystem. Yeah, it's a long food chain, as we call it. The circle of life. Parang ano lang to, no? Simba. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you have to go through all of those. It's not just one single entity and that's it. It's not just the government. Yeah, it's not just infrastructure or any entity. So it has to be a collaboration of all of these entities to make things happen for the Philippines, di ba? Bangon Pilipinas. Yan yung, Anyway, so okay, Kaloy is a best friend of mine. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna give him the most difficult question of this whole panel. Okay, and how many minutes do we have? 5 minutes. Excellent. You have 5 minutes to explain your side. No. So we've understand the landscape, yeah, the Philippine landscape. We've dealt a little bit about regional and global. There's crystal balling exercise done by Frank on what the future actually looks like as far as the technology landscape in the Philippines is concerned. So we're gonna go into solutioning. So, Kaloy, what do you think about? So let me read the question, which is a culminating one. What are the steps that should be taken now to ensure that the Philippine IT infrastructure is ready for unexpected disruptions like another pandemic, another Odette. We've talked about Starlink. If it was there during those calamities, it would have been a lot easier to communicate. Yeah. So, or natural disasters, which is, this or that thing. So, Kaloy, over to you. The most difficult question of the day.
Yeah, I had to research about this, Charlie. Just I will leave you with an acronym that everyone should know, right? So if you look at your right or left, can you define what BCM is in the IT infrastructure in the resiliency space? What is BCM? Look at your right, look at your left. If you're friends, by the way, you can introduce. Anyone knows what BCM is in this context of resiliency, being able to make sure everything's future proof? Hey, so they're whispering, and of course, Charlie knows. If there's one thing that these things actually has taught us, is that it's not a technology thing. We always look at the business side of it and the concept of business continuity management. That is BCM. People think they start with ITDR. I have a cloud, I have a data center. If everything crashes, I'm okay. The answer is absolutely not. So, to make your infrastructure future proof, to make your infrastructure resilient, the question is, what business are you serving? And what is the requirements of the business? So if research further, because we only have 3 minutes, BCM gives you a whole set of processes and steps, starting with understanding the risks of your company, creating your corresponding business impact analysis, then creating a business continuity plan, then creating your IT disaster recovery, which will maximize your cloud and data center approach, and do the testing. If we look back, hopefully about 3 or 4 years ago, I don't remember, and I don't want to remember anymore what happened to us in pandemic. People basically who were not prepared on BCM suffered. And people did not know what to do if I don't have email.
Yep.
What I cannot go to the office? Why can I make a call? But for the companies who were prepared for any disaster, they knew what's going to happen because they already rehearsed the scenario. They rehearsed the scenario of what will happen. Even the business is out, what can I do? So if there's one simple thing I would recommend to you is to look at your BCM, your business continuity management, and that will correspond to succeeding steps that you'll be able to maximize the infrastructure, the data center, all these technologies as potentially the third and fourth step, not the first step, but the third or fourth step to be able to make your company and correspondingly your infrastructure to be resilient. That's how I would probably answer that, Charlie, from your question.
You're really my friend. So answer it well. Can agree more. Can agree more. BCM. In fact, just to share, um, I mean, a company as big as Shell, I work for them. Our BCM is manual. It's manual. BCM is, this is worst case scenario. Yeah. This globally, the BCM is manual, not dependent on tech. You should be able to operate without the tech. And you should be able to practice it. Yeah. Kaloy mentioned about practicing it. So, um, yeah, well, thanks for that, for emphasizing that. So this is not about not just making the infrastructure resilient and future proof, but the organization should be ready without infrastructure technology. So go beyond that, which is a worst case scenario, although that's a doomsday scenario as well. But we have to be ready for it. So, well, I don't know with the audience, whether I feel positive about this discussion because we know that we have challenges locally. The future is not bleak at all. I mean, the emerging technologies that can actually help us. And yeah, when it comes to solutioning, there's hope. I mean, there's a solution anyway. It's not like we're in a limbo and we don't know what to do. Yeah. So there are solutions to problems. And the mere fact that we're talking about it, talking about the problem and challenges, for me, it's half solving the problem. Knowing the problem is half solving the problem. Yeah.